Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Pyle with HireMyMom.com, and today I'm excited to have one of our own, Andrea Corpening, and she got her start on Hire My Mom a couple of years ago. She was just telling me as both a job seeker and a business owner. So her strategy was to get some gigs to get her business off and running. So I'm going to let Andrea tell you a little bit more about what she does and who she is.
Hi, Leslie. Thank you so much for having me. I own Elite Business Performance, and my background is in training and development. So I used to be a bank trainer, so I would travel throughout multiple states and help bankers to do their job better, as well as doing some hiring assisting as well. And then when I became a bank director, it was my job to hire people that had to take on these huge projects that affected the success of the company. And I made some mistakes hiring people. I kind of fell into some of those mistakes. And then I've been able to build a program to help business owners hire the right people, to know what they're looking for, and then to develop a team that works even better together. So I combine my background of hiring and training to now help companies to maximize their performance.
And that's such a needed skill because I tell people all the time that with Hire My Mom, we have a variety of small businesses, and almost all of them are not HR professionals. Almost all of them are not well experienced in the whole hiring and interview process. I mean, myself included, like that's not my area of strength. So I'm probably going to learn some things here today. So I'm really excited for you to share and give these small business owners some tips and strategies and just to help them understand the process, because it's really frustrating, time consuming, and wasteful to hire the wrong person and get them trained only to discover they're not the right person. So I'm excited for you to share more about that. So my first question for you is, what are the top mistakes made by businesses during the hiring process?
Yes. So some of the top mistakes are, number one, we hire the person that interviewed the best. So we had some great conversation. I felt like I knew them and we hire them, but we don't measure how well they can do the job. So we hire the person that interviewed the best, and then we don't effectively measure how well they can do the job, because we should consider, can they do the job already? Or can they learn it? And then are they coachable? Because a lot of times I find small business owners, they hire the person that interviewed the best, and then they get hired and then it doesn't work out because maybe they communicate differently from you. They have different priorities. And it's those things below the surface that we don't incorporate into our interview that we find out too late. So what motivates them? What's their personality? Me personally, I am a military brat. My father was in the military. So I'm a very action-oriented person. I like to get things done, and I love to make sure that things are done at the right time. So I am very big on deadlines. So I try to make sure that during the interview process, I gauge someone's personality, and then are they able to meet deadlines? Because that's important to me. So I find a lot of small business owners also don't know themselves enough to know what are those things that someone will do that will make me now want to take on the job that I'm paying them to do, or that will leave me feeling like I made a mistake in hiring. So we have to add those things into the interview process so that we can hire the person that's the right fit. They have the skills, but they also fit right for you and your company culture.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's really, really great advice. So when a business receives a lot of applications, and I heard one person tell me that they received over 900 in one day on Indeed. And she's like, that's too much. I'm coming to hire my mom. I only had like 30 or 40 on your site. It's much more manageable, but I digress. So when a person receives a lot of applications, what are some ways they can ensure that they select the right person?
Yes, I will say first that I know you do a great job on your site to have great talent. So it's one thing to have a lot of applicants, like 900, but then to have at least even 30 qualified applicants is still a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I recommend is in the application process, you have a project or a task you give them before they apply. It could be as simple as, to apply for this job, please submit your resume and a cover letter, and in the cover letter, answer a question, or tell us how you would handle a certain situation, right? So if you're hiring a copywriter, you might say, create a 1 to 2 sentence slogan for why someone would want to visit Hawaii. I don't know, right? So give them something related to the job they're applying for, and just make it something where they have to take an extra step. That's how you get, you discourage people that are just going through and randomly applying to every job that they see. You can weed out those people, and then the ones that are very interested, they have the skills, they complete that next step. I have a client now, they're hiring sales reps. They're expanding their sales team. Well, we're adding in a step where to submit an application, they want a 2 to 3 minute video. And in the video, you're just introducing yourself and why you're interested in the role. And what does that do for them? It shows them that the person has the right communication skills, that they can follow directions because it's in the application process. Because if someone doesn't complete the project, it's already telling you a little bit about them, that they're not going to follow the rules. And so having that step can help deter people that are just applying to random jobs. Another thing is, when you have a lot of applicants, after you go through the screening process and you can narrow it down to, do they have the basic level of skills? I recommend that you have personality or behavioral assessments. So I do provide those to my clients so that we can make sure you have people with the right personality and motivations, because 85% of success in a job is based on your people skills, you know, how well you can communicate and interact with others. Only 15% of your success is based on your technical skills or your knowledge. So an IT person, only 15% of their knowledge about computers will actually make them successful. So using a personality assessment, you can actually match the right fit of personality so that you're only interviewing the people that are the right fit for you. So you can narrow it down in that way.
Right. That's some great tips. I see that more often now than I used to. When I see a job posting, they're asking for some kind of extra step, whether it's, you know, something like submit a short video or write something. And on the flip side, I can see, you know, the job seekers that don't do that automatically are getting dismissed because they're not following instructions and they're not showing that they have attention to detail. You know, so it's one of these things that we're trying to make job seekers aware of too, because, you know, sometimes they just get in a process of just applying for every job that comes in, but not giving it their all, you know. And I've had people say, well, I don't have time to do that. And I'm like, then how do you have time to have a job then? If you're hired, if you don't have time to really apply yourself to the job application and do everything they've asked, then you've pretty much just gone to the virtual trash can in the most, you know.
Yes.
So I agree. That's a great way to kind of weed through some that aren't going to be a good fit. So what tips can you share to help businesses enhance their virtual interview process?
So in their virtual interview process, once you've narrowed it down to, let's say, 5 candidates that you want to interview, I recommend that you have a set of behavioral questions that you can ask them. In all 5 applicants, you should use the same 5 questions, but then you also add in additional questions that you've uncovered from their assessment or other red flags that could have come up, like maybe from their application. But the core questions should all be behavioral based. For example, I used to ask, give me an example of a time when you wowed a customer, when I needed someone that had a passion for customer service. And it's great with that question because you can gauge what they consider to be great customer service. And you can say, okay, that's similar to my definition or what I would do or what I'm looking for, or it's completely left field. So using questions that require them to pull on their existing knowledge or their existing experience or how they've handled things in the past will help you to gauge their fit for your role. Mm-hmm. And besides behavioral questions, I do recommend using role play. So some people say, well, how do we do role play in a virtual interview? Well, there's different ways you can do that. So I mentioned that I have a client right now, we're working on sales reps and some sales managers. And when it comes to role play, you create it ahead of time. So we're in the brainstorming phase. And so, for example, in sales, if you have a common customer objection, so a customer's always, 80% of the time they say, I don't have the money. Mm-hmm. If that's a common objection you see as a small business owner, we want to work that into the interview to see, do they already know how to overcome that objection? Are they still coachable? And so you can see their skills. So how we do that is I either send it to them or we send it to them before the interview so they have time to brainstorm and kind of practice. Or you kind of give it to them and then you say, hey, go ahead and take a couple minutes. You could turn off your video if you need to and just let me know when you're ready. Because I do recommend you give them a moment to prepare because they're already nervous. And you want to see a good representation of their skills. So give them a few minutes or give it to them ahead of time and then say, hey, let's role play it out. So I'll play the customer. And so, hey, I just really don't have the money now. Okay. And then you see how they handle it and you see what skills they bring to the table. How do they connect? How do they build rapport and things such as that? And so role play is so great, and I don't think we use it enough, but that has been a way that my clients are able to see what the person is bringing to the table and if it really fits what they need from there.
Right. Yeah, that's a great example because they are going to be the face of your business representing you out there. And so you want to, it's almost like a mystery shopper. You want to see how they react and how they deal with your clients and your customers. So yeah, I like that idea. And I really think it is helpful to be able to think in advance. Like you were saying, give them a little time because everybody's nervous in an interview situation. If you have to think it off the cuff, you may not give a true representation of how you would really answer that. So that's great.
Yeah.
So what can businesses do to get new employees set up quickly for them to succeed?
So once they've hired someone on, we call that the onboarding process. So that, they're coming on board, they're learning your company, they're learning the job. And it's important that you have a good onboarding plan. I like to call onboarding the dating phase. So you've been courting, you've been kind of trying to get them to come and date you, come and get to know you more. And then the onboarding process should be where it's your first date and you're either taking them to McDonald's or you're rolling out the red carpet. And how you onboard them, how you romance them on that first date either determines that they're going to be committed and they're going to be vested in the process, or they're either going to check out and just do the bare minimum. And so the onboarding process has to be in place for you to share your vision, the expectations that you're expecting in the role, and then where they can get to know you and everyone is set up for success. I find small business owners tend to take on hiring and it becomes their next headache and their next time suck that removes them from the money-making things that they should be focusing on because they haven't created that onboarding process. And so onboarding has to be there so that you can give maybe things on your plate away and you're communicating with them where they understand your expectations, you're getting to know each other. I mentioned earlier, I I like when people kind of meet deadlines and they communicate ahead of time. If they can't meet the deadline, that's important to me. And so they need to know what is important for them to feel that this new hire is working well with them, that they're a good fit, and all of that happens in the onboarding process. So it's not just someone starting and then, you know, you kind of giving them an assignment or doing something. There's a little bit more that we have to put into that process. And that determines whether in a week you say, hey, this person is not the right fit, or this is not working, versus saying, hey, they're actually helping me. They've taken stuff off my plate. They've brought in new sales. You know, there's a reason why we hire, and we have to make sure that we're setting it up for success. And that comes in the onboarding. So making sure that it's clear, the expectations are clear, you have standard operating procedures, or you have information that they can go to if they get stuck. So the direction has to be there for someone, as well as the opportunity to connect with you or the hiring manager is key.
Yeah. Yeah. Some great tips. That's really interesting, because I hadn't thought about it in that regard as far as the dating and really providing a red carpet experience. So that's really nice. Um, can you think of anything else that we haven't covered that you wanted to share? That was the only other question I have for you.
So if you have any of your clients that are interested in looking at other ways that they can enhance their interview process, I do have a free strategy session. We can jump on a call and just kind of go through, well, what are your goals with hiring, and what would that person need to be able to do, and what's your definition of success for that job and that individual. And so I do have that strategy session. So if anyone's interested, I'll be glad to help you through that process.
Okay, perfect. And I will put a link to that in the description when I post this.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. It was a joy to get to talk to you and learn more about what you do and how helpful this is for other small businesses that may be struggling in this area.
Thank you.